Elevate Your Spiritual Awakening, the podcast where we delve into the realms of self-discovery and transformation. My name is Christy, and today I am joined by my co-host, Jen.
Hey everyone, today we have a fascinating guest with us. She's known as Mira, the High Priestess of the Light and Fire, a psychic medium healer with over 30 years of experience in her field. Mira has an incredible journey and we're excited to explore her path with her today.
Yes, we absolutely are. Now, Mira has over 20 years in state and federal government experience before she finally found her calling as a healer. She specializes in, let's see if I can get this right, Raynor naturopathic massage, Reiki, and biodynamic craniosacral therapy. That is such a mouthful. But her journey has led her to become what she calls a bridge for people facing their past and current traumas, offering guidance, connecting them with spirits who have passed over, and much, much more.
We are thrilled to have Mira on the show today. She's truly an expert in her field and her journey is really inspiring. So, Mira, welcome to the podcast today.
Hello, ladies. Thanks for having me.
You're so very welcome. It's such an honor to have you here. And, we thank you. I know, when you commit to things like this, you're committing with your time. So thank you. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys just as much. Thank you.
Now, Mira, your journey from government to becoming a healer, I just find so brain-blowing and fascinating. Can you share with us or tell us more about how you discovered your psychic and mediumship abilities through that process?
Wow.
What came first? It's like the chicken or the egg?
It's funny you asked that because I was like thinking about what to say today, as in yesterday. But I didn't devote enough time to it to think about it. But when I think back to it, I grew up in a home that wasn't exactly like a nice environment, let's just say. And I think to get away from what was happening at home, I would connect to whatever else there was out there.
Mm.
My first clair that I connected to was the knowing. So I always knew what was going on without anyone having to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And as a child, like I'd know what was happening with my parents. I would know when my sister had been in my room. I'd know when our house had been broken into, even though maybe I was like, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so that was probably where I connected to the divine, let's say, to begin with. And it's been an interesting journey since, as in I know a lot of things. Like even as a child, I knew that my mum was having an affair. I knew that my sister had been, like I said, in my room.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that something was off within like energy in my room or in our house, or like I knew what people were feeling. And that was quite overwhelming for me as a kid. Even now, sometimes it can be like that.
Yeah. So your journey sounds like it was one you, would you say you were open to your entire journey? What happened when you went into your corporate world? Did that kind of dissipate? Did that kind of because that's very masculine energy, right? And
Yeah, it
connecting to
is.
the divine is very feminine.
The thing is, like where I worked, majority of my career has always been quite high pressure. So for me, it's been like I've felt everybody's energy and not realized that I'm feeling everybody's energy.
Mm.
I knew what to say to people. I knew when people were holding back information from me. I knew that I knew that something wasn't right all the time, but I didn't know how to control it. So I basically got to the point where I was burning out, where I couldn't even get my head off the pillow to go to work. Like the thought of going to work was like, I couldn't think of anything worse than doing it. And that for me was like, what else is there out there for me to do? Like I knew that I had the abilities, but I wasn't conscious of it. I just thought it was like everyone had it, which they do to a certain degree, but I just thought that everyone had that inner knowing. Because even as a kid, I would look at relationships and stuff like that around me, going, "Oh, she's going to have another baby, and she thinks that's going to save the relationship." And me as a kid thinking that, like when I think about it now, I'm like, how the fuck did you know that? Like, you know,
Right.
you as a kid haven't even experienced, you know, those kind of relationships, and you're reviewing and seeing what's about to happen.
So what did you do with that information as a kid? Like your mum having an affair, your sister breaking into your room, this woman that thinks she's having a baby to save her marriage. Did you just think it and keep it here, or did you speak any of this?
I kept a lot of like information on the inside, or I kept a lot of the emotion of it inside as well. Like particularly when it comes to my mum's affair, she used me as a scapegoat once, and I resented her for that because I've always been the truth bomb person. Like I've never liked to lie. Like, you know, for me it's like the truth or nothing type.
Yes.
And it's always been like that, even as a kid, even as an adult now. And I would hold it back. And the thing is, like, I just like there was an accumulation. Let's just say all the resentment that I was holding on to.
Yeah.
Because it ended up being my mum passed away, but I knew that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't actually stop it from happening. Like I knew something was happening, and I knew because I was standing at the sliding door towards the garage where she had done it, and but something was holding me back, like literally holding me back. I thought it was about the ice cream in the freezer, but it had nothing to do with the ice cream. That was just the segue into there.
Yeah.
But it was like I felt a lot of emotions.
Yeah, totally.
And I didn't actually say, like, to anyone until I was a bit older, because, like, as a kid, like, who's going to believe you?
Yeah.
I had moments of, say, like, let's say magic, where I'd wave my hands around and ask for something to happen, and it would happen.
Yeah.
But no one believed me, so then kind of thought that it didn't actually exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So strongly it did.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's an incredible. It is incredible that you've been practicing for 30 years in the field. Were there any significant moments or events that made you realize that this was your true calling?
I've got to say, I've always been fascinated. Like, I've always loved massage, and I've always, like, even as a kid, so from childhood onwards, like, I've always massaged people, and I've always noticed the difference and noticed how relaxed they are after I've had my hands on people. So when I couldn't lift my head off the pillow, when I was like, you know, loved government, loved the office, like, loved the buzz and all that sort of stuff. But like I said, I got to that point where I couldn't lift my head off the pillow, and I was like, there's something else out there for me. What else can I do? And there happened to be, like, I was like, you know, massage, but everyone's doing massage. Plus, you know, on every corner there seems to be 5, you know what I mean? Like, popping up everywhere. But I came across Rain on naturopathic massage, which I don't do anymore, but I was like, you know, that's different. Like, it can relieve people and allow them to have big releases, as well as it's massage, so I can hide behind that type of thing. For me, subconsciously, it was hide behind that rather than be out there and be like, hey, I'm a psychic medium, everybody, you know. And mostly because I wasn't comfortable with being called a psychic medium.
Yeah.
So I went to Sydney for 2 weeks, and I did a course in Rain on naturopathic massage, and the amount of frustration, let's just say, that came out of my body through that process of, you know, learning and also getting it done on me, I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, you know, this is what I'm going to be doing, and I'm really excited about it. I went back to work, and then they started offering packages, like, you know, the old golden handshake, and I was like, mate, if this isn't a sign, I don't know what is. And I was like, okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, you know, how am I doing this? But I also need something else. And I actually hadn't had like Reiki or any type of healing ever before that. But I was like, oh, you know, I want to try Reiki because someone suggested it, but like it had started popping up, but it wasn't like a lot of my friendship group had experienced that. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try that. So I went to have a Reiki session, and I was like, wow, my body, I've realized through these processes that my body is very expressive. So, like, let's just say it's not normal. Well, and what's normal these days anyway?
What is normal?
Yeah. But my releases would be like all of my limbs are like going places, stretching, moving around, and generally it's like an unwinding for me. And then it took the Reiki practitioner 15 minutes to get me out of it. So it's like I needed to escape from this world so desperately.
Yeah.
But also relieve all the tension and like all the the pain and stuff that I was here holding on the inside.
Yeah.
And I walked away and I felt so different. And I was like, I can do this. And I'm like, am I doing this?
Is this actually a thing?
Yeah. And I was like, I have to learn this. Now I have to learn this, you know. So then that was the next thing that I did was I learned Reiki, and I was like, cool. I'm going to do Rain on naturopathic massage, and I'm going to do Reiki, and that's a business. And they're offering packages, so I'm going to ask for one. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
I'll talk to my sister about it, but I'm not telling my dad until I know. That was another exciting.
The whole other conversation.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting the package. And I was like, all right, this is happening.
Yeah. So you did the thing.
Yeah, I did the thing. And I was like, all right, cool. This is happening. And that was so I did the Rain on Naturopathic massage course at the end of 2018. At the start of 2019, so February 2019, I started my business. And I was like, okay, I'm leaving government, got the golden handshake. I was like, cool, let's do this. And I started working full time in this business. And I was like, I rented a room from a place on Henley Beach Road. You wouldn't know because you're not in Adelaide, but a beautician.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. And I was getting clients, and there was people that were like curious about, what's Rain on naturopathic massage and that sort of thing. And I was like, you know what? I need something else. I need something else that's not mainstream for me. So I came across biodynamic craniosacral therapy. I know, what a fucking massive mouthful.
Mouthful that is.
So I don't know if you know much about craniosacral therapy by itself, but it's more like a manipulation, or like chiropractors use it as some, let's say woo-woo chiropractors use it as a way of manipulating bones in your body, but more of a subtle way, let's say. That's an intention of like what's going to happen. Whereas biodynamic craniosacral therapy is more of a, let's just put our hands on your body. It's very light touch, like you can barely feel it, but it's dependent on what your body is ready to release, and that's it. So throughout that process, you can have like visuals, flashbacks. I have those. Your body can move and unwind, and and there's all sort of different sensations that you can feel. And you're like, oh, geez, give us a chance to speak. So yeah, I did that.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. It sounds like doing all three, you probably weave that magic now somehow into what you do. Like, I know you said you don't do the nootropic massage anymore. But I would get a sense like part of that was your development to get to where you are. It probably helped you release more, so you understand. Because I know that and I've got, I want to talk later about the trauma part that you do, but I'd imagine there was trauma inside of your body that you needed to release and understand and come to face with, so that you could bring this magic again. Like this is what happens, isn't it? As we go on our journey, we find all these different modalities and what works for us, and somehow it just intertwines into the magic that we bring to the world, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's like
So,
peeling off layers, basically.
right, the onions, the onions, the onions. Speaking about layers and challenges, like I can imagine that, such a path would have had its many challenges. How did you overcome any doubts or obstacles on your journey to becoming the high priestess of light and fire? I love that. The high priestess of light and fire.
I love it too. And it's like, it's something that I hadn't, it wasn't like something that it wasn't a title that I gave myself based on anything other than like personal development for me is also enhancing what you're being able to provide for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, I'm working with an embodiment coach. So how would I even describe them? Basically, it's like, if I do have a problem, which there's doubt, there's always doubt, there's always a hint of doubt. I find with me, for most of my life, I've had a lot of doubt. And it's been a very long process to even peel that back. Like it just hasn't been just like, the word doubt. It's been like, it's bold, it's neon, it's flashing at you, and taking down those bits and bobs around that word doubt. It's a hard thing for me because even now I find myself ringing a friend and going, this has just happened. Like, is this a sign? And she's like, why do you need extra confirmation? Like, you're getting the sign. How much more do you need? And I'm like,
Yeah.
but I just need someone to hear it. Or because when it's something new, I generally doubt when it's personally for myself.
Yeah.
So recently, because I've transitioned back into the business full time since COVID, I was like, I need new services. I need to be stimulated, and I need to feel like I'm providing, something new. And as you girls have probably realised, throughout your own businesses and your own journey, that you can't stay the same. Like you continuously move and you continuously change things as they need to be, not as in like every day. And so I was like, I want the universe to present me with some new services that, I'm capable of doing or providing. And so I had a client ring me up and she was like, oh, a friend's daughter's gone missing. Can you help us try and find her? And I was like, yeah, I can. I was at my dad's house at the time and I was like, I need to be home. In my head, I'm thinking I need to be home. But really, like, it's with us. You're just anywhere. It doesn't have to be at home, But because it was like something new, I was like, oh no, I have to be in my comfort zone. I have to be at home, that thing. But I started driving and I kept getting these things. So I was like, I have to call her and tell her what I'm getting. So I'm calling her and I'm telling her what I'm getting and like everything that's happening, like through my mind or what's coming up. And she's like, oh, the police have just found her. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right. But like such an emotional, for me, when it's something new, I get overwhelmed with, is this, like there's so many questions. Like, is this a sign, first of all? But like, hello, is it a sign?
Yeah.
Is it a sign? Is this what I'm meant to be doing? Am I capable? There's so many questions that I have to answer for myself as I'm doing it, but I'm doing it at the same time.
Yeah.
Me, doubt is still hangs around like a little bit of a bad smell, but I tend to push it aside and it comes back, heal some more, and then you push it aside a bit more, you get used to it, or you listen to other people's, I guess, that are on the same wavelength. Like listen to what their advice is, or that when they give you those nuggets of like wisdom, where they're like, well, how do you not know that that's the first, like that's a sign? And you're like, yeah, but when it comes to me personally, I need a few extra confirmations because I don't want it to be my ego telling me that I need to be doing this. I'd rather know that yes, this is actually what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So your work as a bridge for people to face their traumas and find healing is truly commendable. Could you share some insights on how modalities help people in their spiritual awakening?
Yeah, specifically maybe your modalities.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to think. So when I started doing Reiki, I just assumed that what I was getting like during those sessions was what everyone gets. Like I just assume it's like a blanket thing. And so I'm doing a Reiki session on someone and I get spirits come into the room and then you've got people chatting, giving me messages to give to them. So I would have a notepad next to, like, say on the bench or whatever, and make notes about everything that's coming up, like within their body. What, if I get visuals of past lives and things like that, and I'd write it down, I'd be like, oh my, like there's so much information to debrief with them afterwards. And then, like, I just thought that was normal. Like a lot of information comes up, a lot of like heat and pain and that sort of thing. Like sometimes, I don't know if you guys know or have experienced this, that people with a lot of inflammation in their body, it tends to get really hot in the room. Like I usually start stripping and sweating because there's a lot of heat coming out of them. And so then having those debriefing sessions with people, with clients, I was like, this isn't, like, it doesn't feel normal, but it feels like it's a lot of information to go through. It always felt like you need at least half an hour to go through all that information, what they've been through or saw or felt or, experienced. And I was like, I just felt like there was always something that I could do to change the world one person at a time. And I feel like that's been my motto most of my life. Like, I want to change the world, but I want to do it one person at a time because you can't do 600,000 people at a time, You probably could, but I'd rather be humble about it and be like, let's just do it one person at a time.
You like the one-on-one work. Is that what you love doing?
I do, because I think it's because I'm so sensitive to energy that if it's a massive group, I do get overwhelmed because I feel everything from everyone. And so then Reiki sessions weren't just straight Reiki. It was like I was using the other modalities involved. Like with that, there was also like I'd just start talking, and I'd be like, okay, you can see in it, like talk them through seeing their inner child and reconnecting with their inner child and stuff like that. And I'd be like, this isn't Reiki. Like, what is this? I'm like, this is a Reiki session to me. Like,
Yeah.
I like it. And then even having my hands on someone, or even being in the room with them, like while working on them, or having a Reiki session with them, or a healing, let's say, I would get presented with either information in my body where they've had, say, traumas of like they broke their shoulder 15 years ago or whatever, and then I'm feeling that pain. So then I'd have it wouldn't just be like a silent Reiki session where I'm just working and they're listening to the music. It would be an interactive thing that we would be talking about it. They would be feeling into it, and then there'll be releases surrounding that as well. So it's like, for me, I just thought it was normal doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is Reiki. Until I had conversations with other people and they're like, like they don't do that, or, they don't have those experiences. I was like, okay, so what is this? And I was like, I needed to take some time, particularly over COVID, because at the end of 2019, information dropped in and I was like, I need to find a job that with regular money, as in like it's got to be something that you're going to every day. And I was like, okay, so I don't know why, but it feels like something huge is going to happen in 2020.
Yeah.
In a positive way. Like I feel it was positive. And so I applied for a job and then I ended up getting it the next week. And then I was working at another government agency. And I was like, it's just temporary. 3.5 years later, that's when it was the road. But I understand why it needed to happen, because it was like, obviously COVID happened in 2020. I needed to build my resilience as well. So throughout that process, it was like there was a lot of things going on within Australia, let alone the world. And given the place that I was working, everyone needed those particular payments or needed those services, and there was a particular court case. There was a few things going on at the one time, and so it was like, instead of doing the one thing that I was contracted to do, ended up being something totally different. It was like a whirlwind, like a tornado of everything that's happened in the last 3 years. And it was really good to, even though I thought that I was like, oh, it's just a job, I was still helping people and I was still changing lives by doing that, which was nice. And I feel like I've totally digressed.
No, I think that, I think what I'm taking from this is you kind of, you were living this sort of government life, like that was your job, like in the government. You kind of went on a bit of an awakening and you followed your true path, and then you heard a calling to go back, get something steady that was obviously to take you through that patch through COVID, and now you're transitioning back out of that. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, totally.
I think I just want to ask you a question. So just reflecting back to when you were talking about, like when I asked you about working one-on-one and like in bigger groups, you prefer the one-on-one because in the bigger groups you feel so much, like seem to take on so much energy. What are your tips? What would your tips be to our viewers around like, or like, how do you block off from that energy, or do you block off from that energy?
It depends what I'm doing. If it's like a one-on-one healing or a reading, say, I tend to want to be open to whatever information I need to relay to them, whether it's within their body, whether it's within their energy field and that sort of thing. I have been told many times that I consume a lot of, like, I not consume it, but like I'm like a bit of an energetic sponge, so I need to protect myself. And I've noticed that the more that I have been like isolated, because in the last 6 months, which is another story as well, in the last 6 months I've been in a moon boot. I love the universe for that, but anyway. And I've been working from home because I've had to stay off my feet because of this injury. And so the more I've realised that I've been isolated, the more I realised how sensitive I am to energy. And so a few tips that I would give: arm yourself with crystals, like no matter what. If you're not into it, that's okay. But if you're into it, arm yourself with crystals when you leave the house. If you find that you're like a sponge energetically. The other thing you could do is zip your energy up. So be conscious of like putting hands over your energetic field or just around your body and going, I'm zipping myself up to protect myself, just so you can have that kind of barrier from people. Another thing that you could do as well is just be conscious of having like disco space around you. When I say disco space, like, like arm's length, so that in your energetic field, no one can get in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
For me, it's just like I feel it around me, and I just kind of zip it up or just wave my hands around and go, okay, this is what's happening. No one getting past that type thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is wash your hands. I know that sounds so like, hygiene. I'm not talking about hygiene. I'm talking about if you're feeling, whether it's in a group, whether it's at work or whatever, a bit off kilter, or someone's gotten you off kilter and you feel a bit unsettled, wash your hands and be like really conscious of touching, like, the soap, your hands and that sort of stuff. That helps.
Yeah, they're great tips. So we would also like to highlight 2 events that you have coming up: Intuition, Let's Connect and Bloom, and Mediumship at the Port. Yes. Can you share some details about these events and what participants can gain from attending?
The Intuition event basically is just about playing with your intuition or connecting to your intuition, how to do that, play with it, like have fun with it rather than take it so seriously, like, because that's what I basically did when I realised that I had it. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, basically it's just like an introductory workshop that anyone from any basically walk of life or any stage of their spiritual journey even, or even if they're just curious, can come along to, and we can just explore their intuition, how to understand the signs and
Beautiful.
that sort of stuff. And then mediumship at the port, that's at a beach port in South Australia. It's just basically a 2-hour evening, and I'm running the show and connecting to
Wonderful.
people's past loved ones.
Yeah, I love that. So that's an in-person event of people can come and connect with past over loved ones through you.
Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful. I love that.
Amazing. That sounds awesome. That sounds amazing. So our listeners will, I'm sure, be interested in attending those events. What advice would you give them on their journey of self-discovery?
Keep an open mind and don't judge yourself. Like whether it's you're learning, I like the fact that you girls are about being curious, because that's what I'm about as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're learning in every interaction, in every day of our lives. Like, it doesn't have to be something massive. It could just be a fact or something. But throughout your journey, don't judge yourself, because there's plenty of people that are judging themselves internally, and that's something that holds us back as people. So, like, stay curious and don't judge yourself, and just allow the roller coaster to unfold, because it's not going to be forward movement all the time. There will be some steps back, turnings, going, is this what I really want to be doing?
Yeah.
But just also remember that throughout that process, where you want those moments that you want to turn back and not do this anymore, keep going.
Beautiful. I love that advice. That is so invaluable, Mira. Thank you. And thank you for sharing so much wisdom with us today about your insights and your journey of discovery. And I just want to say thank you to our audience for listening as well.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much, Mira, for joining us today on Elevate Your Spiritual Awakening. It's truly been an enlightening conversation.
And a big thank you to all our listeners. We hope you found inspiration in Mira's journey and expertise. Don't forget to check out her Facebook page, her Facebook group, Bringing You Back, and consider attending her upcoming events.
And if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Remember, you can always reach out to us on our social media channels to share your thoughts and ideas for future episodes as well.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, keep elevating your spiritual awakening. Much love.
Stay curious.